Namaste, hello and welcome. I am Danielle Knight, also known as Siri Radha, and I will be sharing with you cultivating inner harmony with Ayurveda and yoga. I'm an Ayurvedic practitioner and yoga teacher in Hatha and Kundalini yoga, and also a Reiki practitioner, and I'm deeply honored to be here with you all. So please send me a comment in the chat box anytime you have a question or a comment. I hope everybody can hear me okay. And I've also posted in the description for this live broadcast, there's a link to a presentation. If you'd like to open that link and download or open the PDF presentation. Oh, great. Hola, Hector. Okay, good. So I know that everyone is hearing me. That's wonderful. So if you'd like to follow along, go ahead and download that link, or you might just be able to open it up. It's a Google Drive link, and there's a beautiful PDF presentation if you're more of a visual learner and would like to follow along. So on the second page of the presentation, I have some opening mantras, and I'd like us to just open the space together by chanting some mantra. So I just put in the chat box in case you don't have the document open yet. And if you do open the document, you'll want to find a way that you can have two windows open at once so you can see me and also look at the PDF as we go along. And if you'd rather not open the PDF, that's fine as well. So whatever your preference is. So the first mantra, I'd like us to just attune our energies together and open the sacred space. And so we'll start with 3 ohms. Om is the seed sound of creation. And so we're just going to attune ourselves with the cosmic consciousness. And then the mantra to Ganesha, this one in particular, Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. We are calling on the energy of Ganesha, who is the Hindu deity that helps to remove obstacles. So this is just invoking this energy to remove obstacles from our lives and from our class today so that we can receive this ancient wisdom in the highest way possible for the benefit of all beings. So I'll just invite you to bring your hands together at heart center and close the eyes if you'd like to, or keep them open if you need to look at the mantra, and just relax your shoulders down. And wherever you're sitting, whether you're on a chair or on the floor, just bring your attention into your sit bones and root your energy down, grounding your energy down through the sit bones. And if you're in a chair, having your feet flat on the floor, grounding the energy down through the soles of the feet, and just sending these grounding cords, maybe even visualizing roots growing down into the earth through all of the layers, all the way down to the center of the earth, and see that the roots of your tree are wrapping around the core of the earth, just helping us to be really grounded and centered, connected and stable. And Ganesha is also associated with the first chakra, and this chakra helps us to feel grounded and stable and secure and brings prosperity into our life. So let's just take a deep breath in together through our nose. And exhale completely out through the nose. Good. And let's begin with 3 rounds of Om. Om. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. 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 Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. And then just slowly opening your eyes if they were closed and releasing your hands down to your thighs. And we are ready to begin. So I'm going to talk about the basic concepts of Ayurveda. Ayurveda. Ayur means life and Veda means knowledge or science or wisdom. So Ayurveda is a self-healing science, and it's also yoga's sister science. And Ayurveda teaches us how to live in harmony with the earth and how to understand our own true nature, our unique mind-body type. So if you're following along with the presentation, I'm going to move to page 3. And I just want to talk about Ayurveda's definition of health. And it's very complete. Ayurveda's definition of health on page 3, there's a shloka from one of the Ayurvedic textbooks. So Ayurveda is probably more than 10,000 years old. It's the oldest system of health and healing that we know of. And it was recorded 5,000 years ago. So before that, it was just an oral tradition that was passed down from master to student. And now we're so blessed that we have this wisdom available, and we can use it to understand the energies in our universe and how they are interplaying within our own being and within our environment. So yoga's definition of health is samadosha, sama agnisha, sama dhatu, malakriyaha, prasana atma indriya, manaha, swasti iti abhidyate. So what does that mean? Well, sama means balance, and dosha is a biological energy we're going to talk about. Biological energies are vata, pitta, and kapha, and they are composed primarily of 2 of the 5 great elements, which we're also going to discuss. Everything in the universe is a unique combination of the 5 great elements, the Pancha Mahabhutas. And so these energies, these doshas, need to be in balance within our body. And then Agni is the word that means fire, and this is referring to our digestive fire. So we need to have a balanced digestive fire. So we are what we digest. The food we're eating and everything we're taking in through our senses is actually becoming our body, the tissues, this physical form. So we also started with sound today because sound is from the yogic philosophy and from other traditions as well. It's said to be what initiated the creation. And so sound is the most subtle form of healing, but it's also very powerful. And I'll go into talking about how sound created the universe after another slide or 2. So let's just continue with this definition of health. So balanced doshas, balanced Agni, our digestive fire. If our digestive fire is not balanced, we accumulate toxins in the body. So we'll also talk later about how to avoid that. We need to have proper elimination of wastes. So mala in Ayurveda is the word for waste product. So this is different than the mala beads you might think of that we use sometimes in a mantra practice. So this mala is waste product, and kriya is an action. So kriyaha is proper action of the elimination of waste through our sweat, our urine, and our feces. So the rest of this definition of health says that our soul, our senses, and our mind must be content. And so when we have all of these pieces, this is the definition of health. So you can see it's a very holistic approach. So moving on to slide 4, the Pancha Mahabhutas, the 5 great elements, starting with ether, air, fire, water, and earth. So it's said that in the beginning was the inaudible cosmic vibration of Om, the seed syllable of creation, and that this gave birth to the element of ether or space. We need the space because the space is what contains the creation. So this is the first element, and then the sound, air came into being so that the sound could travel on the air and the vibrations. And then through friction, through that movement, heat was generated, giving birth to fire. And then at a certain point, the fire liquefied ethereal elements, creating water. And then the water cooled down and created earth. So going from most subtle to most dense. And these 5 great elements are what create everything. And everything contains all 5 elements in a different ratio. So we have the 3 doshas. These are the biological energies. And vata is the air and space. So this is the most subtle of the energies. It's responsible for movement, all voluntary and involuntary movement in the body and the mind. So it's responsible for communication and nerve impulses. Pitta is fire and water predominant. And so Pitta is responsible for digestion and digestion of not just food, but all of the information we're taking in through our senses. And it's also responsible then for transformation and metabolism, assimilation of nutrients. And kapha is water and earth, so moving to the most dense of our elements. And kapha gives form and structure and cohesion and lubrication to our joints. So these are the 3 doshas, and everybody has a unique combination of these 3 doshas, and we call this our mind-body type or our doshic constitution. And usually sometimes you are primarily vata, pitta, or kapha, and that's very evident. But there are also dual dosha types where you could be a vata pitta or a pitta kapha. You could also be a vata kapha. You can also be a tridoshic, meaning you have an equal balance of all 3 doshas. So there is not one combination that's better than the others. This is just really what makes each of us unique. And this ratio, this unique ratio, is determined at the time of conception. So, I see that somebody's asking a question. And yes, so the slides for the class, the question is, can you share the slides with us after the class? So if you don't see in the description to this live broadcast, there should be a link that says access presentation. And if you don't see it there, I will definitely share it again in the chat box. So let me know if you don't. Actually, I'll just share it right now. I can do that pretty easily. So there we go. Okay, so going back to the doshas, I just want to talk a little bit about the qualities of the doshas. So another one of the main concepts in Ayurveda is the 20 gunas or attributes, and these are opposite qualities. And so each dosha has its own set of qualities. And if we were to take the time to just think about the qualities of space and the qualities of air and fire and water and earth, you would come up with these descriptions yourself, because they really are common sense. They're easy to understand. So Vata, being air and space, has the qualities of being dry, light, cold, rough, mobile, subtle, and clear. So this is the dosha that most easily goes out of balance because it is so subtle. And so in this class, we're also talking a little bit about anxiety and fear and worry and nervousness. And these are indications that our vata is high, that we have excess air and space element. When vata is in excess, so all of the doshas, right? We're born with our unique mind body type, but then we have our current state of the doshas. And so we might have one of the doshas high. And so that's how we're going to look a little later on about how we can choose diet and lifestyle practices and yoga that will help balance. So moving on to Pitta. Pitta's qualities are hot, oily, sharp, light, mobile, liquid, and it has a spreading quality. If you think of, a fire can spread very easily. So Kapha's qualities are heavy, slow, cool, so not as cold as Vata, but more of a moist cool, like a clammy kind of a feeling. It's also oily and smooth, dense, soft, static, meaning it doesn't move very easily, and it's sticky and cloudy. So the way we bring balance is to use opposite qualities. Let's go on to the next slide on page 6. And we talked a little bit already about your unique blueprint. This is your Prakruti, and your current state of possibly imbalance is your Vikruti. So again, this unique balance is determined at the time of conception. It depends on your parents, not only their Prakruti, but also their Vikruti at that time, and also the season, the environment in which you were conceived. All are going to play a part in what your unique ratio is going to be, and you're born with that. So there are different body types. If you're following along on page 7 of the presentation, there's a Vata type body type, a Pitta body type, and a Kapha body type. And this isn't exact, but it gives you an idea. Vatas tend to be have a more slender build. It's very hard for them to put on weight, even if they try. And they tend to have more prominent veins and joints, and a longer elongated face. They tend to be underweight also. So pittas, and they're also, because of that dry quality, they tend to have dry skin and dry hair. So pittas are more of our medium body type. They're athletic. They do build muscle pretty easily, and they maintain their weight mostly. They might go up and down a little bit, but pretty much they maintain their weight, and they have a strong metabolism, whereas Vata's metabolism is variable because they have that, because of the subtle quality, it means that they're just more variable in everything, every part of their life. So their digestion, Vatas, can be up and down, whereas Pittas, also because of that cold quality, they don't have as much heat for that digestive fire. Whereas Pittas have a very strong digestive fire, sometimes too hot, and they have a lot of hunger, very strong appetite, need to eat on time. Some pittas have red hair, so if we're just thinking about this fiery kind of nature, they, like I said, they're more of the medium body type. So we're going to go more into characteristics, but I just wanted to give you an idea of body type first. So Kapha dosha, people who are predominant in Kapha dosha tend to have a bigger structure, bigger bones, and they put on weight very easily. So they could actually do a water fast and gain weight. So it's not, it's not fair, but they also have the greatest immunity and strength and longevity when they stay in balance. So kaphas tend to have a more round, facial structure, fuller lips, big, beautiful eyes, thick lashes, and thick, wavy hair. Because they also have that oily quality, they tend to have more oily hair. And yeah, so let's just move on to talking a little bit about the strengths and weaknesses of the doshas. And Vata, being air and space, when it's balanced, gives somebody joy, enthusiasm, flexibility in both their body and their mind, a lot of creativity, communication. They do tend to speak quickly, and they can be very intuitive because of that subtle quality. And they can go with the flow easily, right? So when in excess, when out of balance, Vata, we're going to tend to have that anxiety, fear, and worry because we need to be grounded in order to feel secure and stable. So if we have too much air and space, we're going to be spaced out. We're going to forget things easily. Vatas learn quickly, but they also forget quickly. So it can affect your nervous system. So any nervous system disorders, emaciation, constipation is also Vata related because Vata's main seat is in the lower abdomen in the colon. And so when it's cold and dry and rough, we tend towards constipation. They also tend towards bloating and gas because of those same reasons with a variable appetite. So that just gives you a little bit of an idea. Pitta, when balanced, Pittas are very intelligent. They have a sharp mind, so remember that sharp quality. They also have a lot of ambition because of that heat, and they love to be in leadership positions. They're entrepreneurs. They're great at solving problems. They're very articulate and very organized when in balance. So they have a perfectionistic tendency which can work against them. So in excess, that perfectionism can come in the form of judging self and others, and anger, irritation, jealousy, and then conditions in the body like inflammation. So inflammation, right, and hives and rashes, skin conditions are related to pitta, ulcers, heartburn, acid indigestion, and more looser elimination like diarrhea would be pitta in excess. So moving to kapha. Kapha is on slide 10 if you're following along. Kaphas, when they're balanced, are the most loving, compassionate, stable, dependable, honest people. They make great counselors and caregivers and cooks. They love to feed people, and they're basically like, you want to have a kapha as a partner or a best friend because they'll just always be there for you. So in excess, kapha, like we talked about, they put on weight easily. So obesity, any kind of a growth or tumor, feeling lethargic. They're also, the main seat of kapha is in the chest and the respiratory system. So grief is an emotion associated with the lungs. So sadness and grief can be an indication of kapha in excess, and also attachment and possessiveness. So diabetes is also another condition that's related to kapha. All right. So moving along, let's talk about how we can return to balance. And there's a few concepts I want to discuss. The first one is ahimsa. Ahimsa, you may be familiar with. This is one of the first of the 5 yamas. The yamas are one of the 8 limbs in yoga. And so since Ayurveda and yoga are sister sciences, Ayurveda also draws upon the wisdom of yoga. And ahimsa is non-harming of self and others. And this is in our thoughts, words, and actions. So we often aren't so aware of how we speak to ourselves. this is one of the subtle ways we can start to bring attention to how we are using our words, the power of our words, our vibration, this powerful form of creation which gave birth to the universe. So how are you using your power? And everything starts in the mind. So we have to start by changing our thoughts and changing how we are speaking to ourselves and how we're speaking to others, and the environments we're surrounding ourselves in. Are they healthy for us? Are the foods we're eating nourishing our bodies? Are they appropriate for our mind-body type? And are our lifestyle practices in harmony with the earth? Because when we are out of harmony with the natural cycles of the earth, that's when we're experiencing dis-ease in our mind and body. So Ayurveda says we are a microcosm of the macrocosm. So, right, everything is made of the 5 elements. So are we. So the universe is within us, and we're within the universe. So we are a reflection of what's happening around us. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit more about ahimsa. We'll do a practice a little bit later on, but this is really about just setting the intention to bring more awareness to how everything we're taking in through our senses, what are we listening to, how much news is helpful, and when is it time to turn it off? How is the music we listen to affecting us? And, so really being conscious about those choices. And then second, we need to learn how to use food as medicine. Food is, one of these pleasures we have on this earth plane, and we get to enjoy the 6 tastes in Ayurveda. This is one of the ways we can start to understand how to bring balance through food, is through our understanding of the 6 tastes, and through understanding the qualities of the foods, and knowing what our unique ratio is of the doshas, our prakruti, and what our imbalanced state might be, our vikruti. I'm going to provide you with a link, if I didn't already, to take a dosha quiz. So after this class, or later today, you can go and take a dosha quiz and try to determine what your unique balance is, so that you can make more educated decisions about your food choices. You can also then, you'll be able to look up, I'll give you some examples, but you'll also be able to look up, like, what is a vata balancing diet? What is a pitta balancing diet? What is a kapha balancing diet? So one of the Ayurvedic proverbs is that when diet is wrong, medicine is of no use, and when diet is right, medicine is of no need. So we just want a pill to fix everything for us, and it's just not out there, because any pill you take is not going to the root cause. And Ayurveda, the goal is to go to the root cause, to find out that root cause so that we can truly heal. If we're just treating the symptoms, we never truly heal. So that is the beauty of Ayurveda. Then, how are we using our lifestyle practices? Our daily routine. Are we doing a meditation every day? Are we getting exercise? What kind of exercise? Because different body types do better with different types of exercise, different styles of yoga. So we're going to talk about that. And then, yes, that moves into yoga. How are we using yoga to bring balance to our mind, body, and spirit? So on page 12 of the presentation, the 6 tastes I have outlined here just to give you an idea. And there's a picture of a bowl, which includes all 6 tastes. So we want to have these tastes in different ratios, but we do want to have all 6 tastes in every meal, because each taste is actually, it has a different physiological response in the body. So if we don't have all 6 tastes in our meal, that's when we may have eaten enough in quantity, but we're not feeling satisfied. And often that's because you are missing a taste. So this is really important to help us feel satisfied after our meal and content, and to not overeat. So the sweet taste, each of the tastes has a different like heating or cooling effect, and so they are going to either balance or increase the doshas. So I have a minus next to the taste that basically minus means it's going to balance, it's going to bring that that dosha in balance, and a plus means it's going to increase that dosha. So we want to be careful of these. So the sweet taste is generally it's a nourishing taste, and it builds tissue. So for vatas, this is really good. It's also actually good for pitta. So vata and pitta can have more of the sweet taste, whereas kapha, if they eat more sweet, they're going to go out of balance. So when we talk about the sweet taste, we're not talking about refined sugars. We're talking about whole grains are predominant in sweet taste. Fresh dairy, if you do have dairy as part of your diet. And of course, when we have dairy, ideally it's organic and it's being taken, ideally the cows are, being treated well and with respect, and that's hard to find these days. So, but in the Ayurvedic texts, fresh dairy is used and cows are revered and deeply respected. So ideally, these dairy products were taken from cows who were treated with love and respect. So moving on to, let's see, the sweet taste, actually, let me go back and just say that sweet juicy fruits, of course, are also included in that. Even some, root vegetables have a sweet taste. Avocado is a fruit, of course, so that has a sweet predominant taste. Moving to sour. Sour improves taste and digestion and absorption. It aids in assimilation, and sour taste, of course, is going to be any citrus fruits, but also vinegar and fermented foods. So you'll see in this bowl we have a little bit of lemon. So they're showing a baked yam, like a sweet potato, and some avocado for the sweet taste, and then we have some lemon for the sour taste. And then salty taste also balances vata and pitta. It balances vata, but it increases pitta and kapha. And the salty taste is going to be any kind of sea salt, Himalayan pink salt, tamari, soy sauce, but also our sea vegetables like kelp. So in this bowl, there's a little kelp included. So salty is improving taste, digestion and absorption, and then sour, I think I mixed that up a little bit. Sour is aiding in digestion and assimilation. And then we have pungent. Pungent is really important for kaphas, especially because of that cooler, slower metabolism that they have. They need more pungent heating spices. So these are basically all of your spices, and ginger and garlic and onion. So hot chili peppers, this kind of a thing is great for kapha, not so much for pitta, because remember, pitta is fire and water, and pittas tend to run hot and they tend to get overheated, and so we want to actually really minimize. They need to have like sweeter, more gentle spices, and much less of them. Whereas vata needs some spice, but not as hot as kapha. So again, it's going to be a little bit milder, the spices for vata, not as pungent and hot and sharp as the ones that are needed for kapha. So then moving to bitter and astringent. Bitter and astringent are tastes that balance both kapha and pitta, but they increase vata. And bitter is going to be in our bitter greens. Most green vegetables are going to be bitter, so we have some kale in our bowl here. But in excess, it's going to increase Vatas will have some bitter in their diet, but not a lot. So they don't want to have a huge kale salad for their meal. That's going to be very ungrounding for them. They need more grounding foods. Okay, but the bitter taste is cooling and it's detoxifying and it has a reducing effect. So it's good for the pittas and the kaphas. All right, and then the astringent taste is in our picture here. It's represented as the sprouts. It's also in most beans and lentils, so legumes. And astringent is also in pomegranate, unripe banana. So if you think about anything that you put in your mouth and it has this like drying kind of effect, that's going to be astringent. So astringent has a drying effect on the body. That's why we don't want vatas to have too much of it. But it's fine for our oily pittas and kaphas. So astringent taste also is in green tea and black tea. And turmeric is also astringent as well as bitter. So that just gives you a little bit of an idea here. And then I have some examples of some different foods for all of the tastes in the presentation. And I'll just go through, I kind of went through some of them already, so I'll just go through them again quickly. The sweet taste, again, I said was whole grains. It's also natural sugars. So we have rice, wheat. Basically, most whole grains are going to fall into the sweet category. And then in Ayurveda, we would use raw sugar instead of a refined sugar in small quantities. That can be absolutely fine to have in the diet. So also the milk and dates, maple syrup, honey, and sweet fruits. So one of the actions besides building tissues, it increases vital essence of life and gives stability and strength and longevity, and it promotes healthy skin, hair, and a good voice. So these are all good things to have. But again, remember, I'm not talking about this here, but in excess, each of the tastes also are going to create imbalance. So in Ayurveda, the idea, one of my teachers, Dr. Sarita Shrestha, likes to say, everything is good, everything is bad. So that means depending on how it's taken and by whom and at what time of day and what season, because we're constantly needing to also look at our environment, right? And what time of day it is. For instance, summer is going to be a pitta time of year, whereas spring is going to be a kapha time of year. And of course, this depends also on where you are in the world. So it might look different for you. You have to kind of look at what are the qualities in the environment where I am right now. And so how can I bring opposite qualities through my food choices? And one simple rule of thumb, if you just want to forget about all of this other stuff I've told you, is that if you're going to your local farmer's market, if that's possible, or if you're able to grow your own food, even better, but being able to eat the foods that are growing naturally in your area, in your location, are the foods that Mother Nature is providing to balance the elements and the qualities of that particular season. So that's a good rule of thumb, is if you're eating seasonally and not getting things that are being shipped from other parts of the world, that is one of the best ways to ensure that you're going to be eating a diet that is primarily balancing for that season. And then, of course, you do need to take into consideration your unique mind-body type and maybe make some adaptations in terms of the way you might prepare the food. So, for instance, Vata types should have much less raw food, because raw foods are harder to digest and they have the qualities of being cold and dry and light. So a Vata person needs to take more cooked foods. Again, just kind of circling back to the anxiety and fear. When we're experiencing anxiety and fear, a raw food diet would actually increase the Vata, therefore increasing anxiety and fear and ungroundedness. We'd want to have more cooked food, more warming foods, more good quality oils in our diet to balance out those qualities of Vata, more root vegetables, soups, and stews, and curries, this kind of a thing. So just coming back to the 6 tastes. Sour, I mentioned the citrus fruits, but also sour cream, yogurt, vinegar, cheese, and green grapes, as well as the fermented food. And this stimulates our appetite and salivation, and improves our digestion, and energizes the body, nourishes the heart, and enlightens the mind. So salt, again, I mentioned the sources of salt, but salt also can act, for its actions, it can be a laxative. So again, that's why, in excess, that wouldn't be such a good thing. Let's see, somebody posted a question. I am Mexican, but now I live in Canada, and I'm looking for local plants to eat. Okay, so yes. So since you are in Canada now, if you can find a local farmer's market, that's a great question. If you're from a different geographical area, but now you're living somewhere else, you would want to eat the foods that are in season in that area. So if you can go to the farmer's market, or, if it's not possible right now, you can, see if you can find at your grocery store things that are being grown locally, or do a search if you're not sure what's being grown, what's naturally growing in your area. That's a great thing you can do, is look it up and find out for yourself. And in general, just try to avoid buying things that have been shipped from other places. Although I understand sometimes you may miss something from where you're from, and so certainly have that as a treat. But maybe you won't have that, all throughout the year on a regular basis. So that's the general idea. Thanks for that question. All right. So going back to, let's see, salty and then pungent. I spoke about all of the spices and peppers that are included in the pungent category that helps our circulation and improves digestion and absorption. It also cleans the mouth, clears our sinuses. I'm sure you've noticed if you eat something very spicy, sometimes you need to blow your nose. That's why it's great for kapha, because kaphas tend to have more respiratory congestion. Okay, let's see, it also helps to kill germs and parasites. So that's why in a lot of cultures, spices are used, and they're important to, to keep those parasites and germs in check. The bad ones, I shouldn't say bad, but the ones that might cause us harm, right? All right, so pungent taste can also bring a clarity of perception because it has that kind of cleansing effect on the sinuses. And then the bitter taste, I'll also mention, is in coffee, although in Ayurveda, coffee is not recommended so much. Kaphas are the ones who could take a little coffee because it is quite stimulating, and it is acidic. So in Ayurveda, if you're having coffee, they do say a pinch of cardamom can help to offset the acidity. I want to just mention that because I know there are a lot of us yogis and yoginis who do enjoy having our coffee still, at least on occasion. So that's a good, helpful remedy to offset that. Let's see here. All right. So we are going to move on to, I just want to talk a little bit more about bitter. So bitter has a detoxifying effect. It also helps to promote the flavors of the other tastes. And I also want to mention this, that it's important that your food tastes good, because when our food tastes good, we actually digest it better. So it should feel good and taste good. So don't think that, oh, I have to eat this, like some people are trying to eat something that they think is healthy and it really doesn't taste good. Well, just, you've got to have it taste good. So listen to your body. We have to learn how to tune in and listen to the body's wisdom also. When we're in a very imbalanced state, then that wisdom is also going to be clouded, and we may not get those intuitive signals that are guiding us towards the right foods. But when we're in a mostly balanced state, a lot of times our cravings are actually healthy. So pay attention to what foods you're drawn to when you go to the farmer's market or to the grocery store. What foods are calling to you? And obviously, if it's something that's unhealthy, you're probably, that's going to be like an unhealthy craving or in a kind of more of an addiction to that taste. But when you're, drawn to a particular vegetable or fruit, like really pay attention to that and trust that. So that's another simple way, besides eating seasonally, is that when you're in balance, you can trust that your body is asking for what it needs. Great. So bitter taste, and moving to the astringent taste, I'll just mention that because it has this drying and reducing effect, it also can be helpful in healing ulcers and stopping bleeding because it promotes clotting. So, all right, so those are the 6 tastes, and we've already gone through some of the food examples for each of the tastes, and we're going to move into lifestyle. So at the end of the class, I will take more questions if anybody has any specific questions about any of this content I've presented so far. So lifestyle for Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. So let's just go back to the qualities of Vata. Remember, cold, dry, light, rough, mobile, and clear. So because of this mobile quality, Vatas tend to be very inconsistent in their schedules, in their activities. They love variety, and they really don't like to stick to a routine. However, routine is one of the best things you can do for a Vata because it's going to give them that consistency and stability that's needed in order for them to feel secure. So getting into a regular routine, what does that mean? That means that we wake up and go to sleep at the same times, that we eat our meals at the same times, that we have a morning routine and an evening routine that helps us, to start our day and to end our day. For Vatas, because they're dry and cold, daily oil massage is one of the best things you can do for a Vata. So besides routine, daily warm oil massage with sesame oil or a Vata balancing oil, if you can find one that has medicinal herbs that have been cooked into the oil that are balancing for Vata, that will be even better. But if not, a raw, unrefined sesame oil is great for Vatas. And you do a full body massage, about 10 minutes before your warm shower or warm bath. So for Vatas, cold showers are not really recommended. They're great for Pittas and, maybe for Kaphas could help to stimulate the Kaphas a little bit. But for Vatas are just more delicate and they need more gentle care. And so a warm shower, especially after you do your oil massage in Ayurveda, it's said that the warm shower will help to open the pores more so that the oils can be driven deeper into the tissues. So for exercise, again, Vatas, because they are so movement oriented, they love to be on the move and they love to dance and jump and jog and do vinyasa at yoga, more flowing types of yoga. And it's actually more balancing for them if they can cultivate more stillness in their practice. So more of an Iyengar style or a style of yoga that has longer holds in the postures and that focuses more on strength, because Vatas do tend to be very flexible already. So building strength can help stabilize their joints and just stabilize their body in general. Restorative yoga and any yoga that's done on the floor. We're going to talk a little bit more about yoga, so I will share more about that later. Also for Vata, remember air and space, think about wind. So we want to make sure that they cover their ears, especially ears are related to Vata. And when it's windy outside, we want to make sure that the Vata has their head covered, because otherwise that's going to increase the air and space element in them. We want to make sure they stay warm because remember, they tend to be cold. Their circulation isn't as good. And so staying warm is really important. So even living in a warmer climate for somebody who's a Vata is very helpful if you can do that. A Vata in a very cold and dry climate is going to be is going to have to work a little bit harder at staying balanced. It's possible, of course. You just are going to have to put a little more effort in. So think about that. So moving to Pitta. Pittas, because remember that sharp quality, and they are so brilliant in their minds that they are can also be very critical. So in lifestyle, we want to encourage them to cultivate non-judgment towards self and others, and also to play more and let go of needing to be perfect, let go of needing to win. So pittas are very competitive, and it's not that that's a bad thing, but pittas can tend to be so competitive that it actually can burn them out. So people who have early thinning of the hair, early graying of the hair, baldness in men, this is indicates somebody who has a lot of pitta in them, and there's a lot of heat. So we really want to cool down with cooling foods, less spices, avoiding oily foods, especially fried foods for really all of the doshas. Avoiding the nightshade family, so the tomatoes, peppers, regular potatoes, whereas they can have sweet potatoes and yams, but regular potatoes, even for the other doshas, can be a little harder to digest. For a vata, they can take it with some spices to help with that. For pittas, it's better to avoid those. So for a pitta, cooling foods would look like having more, sweet foods in the diet. That means whole grains and sweet juicy fruits, coconut water, cucumbers, cilantro. Most fresh herbs are going to be good for our pittas. And what else? Stay hydrated and stay out of the midday sun. So, and that especially means no exercise in the middle of the day. So you want to exercise because midday is also a pitta time in our environment. So especially when you're high pitta, but really for everybody, that's not the ideal time to be exercising. So you want to exercise in the early morning. Or mid-morning, and at night also is not the best time to exercise because you're getting ready for bed. So Ayurveda has there are different times, different doshas associated with different times of the day and different seasons, and even our life cycles are categorized in terms of vata, pitta, kapha. We start with kapha up until about age 16, going into puberty. We move into our pitta time through midlife, which gives us that ambition and fire we need to build our careers and our families. And then we move into our vata time of age, which is really about slowing down and cultivating more stillness and maybe more of a creative time of life. So let's see. Also, one thing for pittas to keep in mind is to only exercise to 70% of capacity, because even at that, they're doing more than other people because they really push themselves. So just to kind of cultivate more of a surrendering quality of mind and heart. Swimming is great for kaphas, and cold showers, yes, and moon baths. That means, taking a walk in the moonlight is great for pittas. Bed before 10 p.m. Why? Because at 10 p.m. pitta time starts again, and if you don't go to bed before 10 p.m. or by 10 p.m., it might be a little different for each of us, but we'll get a second wind, and you'll probably get hungry and you'll want to eat, and we do not want to eat that late at night. And we want to go to bed so that the organs that are really meant to do their rest and rejuvenation during that time are going to get that time they need. So 10 p.m. bedtime. Oh, but that's just a suggestion, because pittas, you never tell them what to do. So that's just a suggestion. Do some research, try it out, see if it works for you. Okay, so moving to kapha, just a few lifestyle recommendations. Because kaphas are so consistent, we actually want them to change up their routine and sweat every day. They need more vigorous exercise because of that slower metabolism. They need more heat, and even stimulating music, invigorating massage, no naps during the day for kaphas because it increases kapha. So whereas a vata could, get away with a little nap, not our kaphas. Kaphas should wake early in the morning. They don't need as much sleep, but they love to sleep. So you'll see the dosha, sometimes we tend to, be drawn towards the things that actually may imbalance us. So we need to challenge ourselves to, depending on our dosha, we need to challenge ourselves in different ways to stay balanced. Okay, so just in terms of the kapha diet, just to speak a little bit more about that, the diet should be less grains, obviously, because remember the grains have a sweet quality and they're also heavier and denser, which kapha already has. So kaphas need to have lighter foods, more drier foods in their diet, mostly vegetables, and a lot of spice. Remember that. Okay. Great. So just coming into the yoga part, if you're following along, I'm on slide 21, and we already spoke a little bit about the yoga styles, but I'll share just a bit more. Vata, again, needs a gentler practice and slower movements and more seated postures. All postures where we're seated on the earth or laying down are going to help to connect us with the earth element. Also, any postures that put pressure on the low abdomen. So remember that the colon is the main seat of vata, and so anytime we're putting pressure on that area of the body or any area, it's going to help to release excess dosha that tends to accumulate there. So that's why if you lay on the floor and you draw your knees to your chest, this is called wind releasing pose. So this is wonderful for vata. It is really releasing vata dosha. Child's pose is a wonderful posture for vata. Shavasana, corpse pose. And think about when you're doing a practice for vata, it's really about our intention that we're bringing to the practice that's going to change the energy too. So just thinking about releasing excess vata down and into the earth is a good way to just bring your awareness to how you're directing the flow of energy through the postures, through our asanas. And then through pranayama, we can use alternate nostril breathing, nadi shodhana, ujjayi breath, and Brahmari pranayama, which we're going to practice in just a couple of minutes here. We're going to do this humming bee breath that's really great for the nervous system. So also left nostril breathing would be good for vata, even though it's a little cooling, it has a calming effect on the nervous system by activating the parasympathetic nervous system. So for pitta dosha, pittas can move a little faster. Remember, they have a strong constitution and they are more athletic, and so they can do more exercise. And again, it would just be bringing that intention to not push too far and to practice acceptance and non-judgment of self and others. Now, pitta's main seat is in the mid-abdomen, and so think about the liver and the gallbladder and the lower part of the stomach, the small intestine. These are areas of pitta. So when we do any kind of a twist, we are putting pressure on those mid-abdominal organs, and this helps to release excess heat and excess pitta dosha. So it also has a detoxifying effect when we do our twisting. Also, any postures that are like a forward bend, whether standing or seated, is also going to bring balance to Pitta. So these are both good for Vata and Pitta because they have a calming effect. And for our pranayam for Pitta, again, the left nostril breathing is great because it's activating that the Ida nadi, the moon lunar channel, which is cooling in nature. They can also do Sitali pranayam, which is serpent breath. This is a cooling breath. And then moving along to our kaphas. Remember, kaphas are the ones who need to be stimulated most. So this is where hot yoga could actually be helpful. I just want to mention pittas are usually attracted to hot yoga, but this would be the worst practice for a pitta because they're already overheated and they don't need to be heated more. So hot yoga, great for kapha and really too strong of a practice for vata. Kundalini yoga could be, I also put it in for pitta. It's not that vatas can't practice Kundalini yoga, but they would be the ones who would want to be most careful with the Kundalini yoga practice because they'd need to really bring their intention and attention to grounding the energy and doing things a little slower. And, then it can be okay. But for a kapha, because Kundalini is a strong practice, and does a lot of breath of fire, which is a heating breathing practice, it could be really great for a kapha. Now, of course, it depends on the kriya too. In Kundalini yoga, we have kriyas, and so it depends on the kriya where, maybe for a vata, the kriyas, there's a lot that are primarily in seated postures. That could be great for vata, and maybe not as great for kapha, depending on the breathing. So it's all... we have to learn how to determine for ourselves what feels right and how to change the effects of the practice through our intention. So vinyasa and something like power yoga, just a faster moving yoga practice, a more vigorous practice, is going to be wonderful for our kaphas, as well as back bends. Back bends are very energizing, and all standing postures. For kapha, we want to think about releasing the energy up and out, whereas for vatas and pittas in our yoga practice, we're releasing the excess pitta and vata down through the soles of the feet. So again, breath of fire is a great pranayam practice for kapha, as well as right nostril breathing, because right nostril is going to activate that solar channel, Pingala Nadi, and get us more energized. All right, so we're going to just talk a little bit about anti-anxiety practices, and then we'll do a little practice ourselves, and then I'll open it up for questions. So going back to vata, remember vata is the dosha. When out of balance, it's going to create anxiety and fear. So one of the best things we can do again is that daily warm oil massage with sesame oil, unrefined, not the toasted kind. That will be, then you'll smell like some kind of a salad or something. So don't do the toasted oil. Plus it's not going to have the same healing effect as the unrefined sesame oil. And then a vata balancing diet. So remember, what does that look like? That is warming foods with spices, but not too hot. So cumin, coriander, fennel, turmeric, fresh ginger, let's see, even a little bit of mustard seed can be good for vatas, and then fresh herbs are really great too for improving digestion. So what else for the vata diet? Okay, so soups, stews, anything that's warm and also moist and has good quality oils. So good quality oils would be like cold pressed olive oil, ghee, which is a clarified butter, made from an unsalted, organic, grass-fed, cultured butter, ideally, but do the best you can. What else? Coconut oil is a little cooling, so unless you are a Vata who also has a lot of Pitta, if you're Vata Pitta, then during the summer, hotter months, then some coconut oil could be fine for you, as long as it's balanced with warmer foods and spices. And so more cooked vegetables. It doesn't mean you can't have a salad, but have it at lunchtime when your digestion's stronger, because midday is also when the sun is at its hottest, and so our internal fire is also at its hottest. So in the evening is the time you would want to definitely have more cooked vegetables. And at lunch, if you're having your salad, maybe if you're experiencing anxiety, you want to do without raw food for a few days. But if you do have it in a small, as a side salad to your meal. So more cooked vegetables are going to be better for our vatas. And fresh dairy is fine. So any kind of a fresh cheese or milk, cottage cheese can be good. Yogurt in smaller quantities, not too much. And soaked seeds and nuts, so not too many because they can be hard to digest, but some soaked almonds can be helpful with the skins peeled off, because the skins are acidic and harder to digest. So what kind of teas are good? I just put on here a ginger and tulsi tea because I think they're a little bit more readily available. Fresh ginger is especially helpful. This also improves our digestion and helps to eliminate toxins in the body by doing that. Tulsi is a wonderful Ayurvedic herb, holy basil, and this is an adaptogen, and it helps to combat stress and anxiety, and is also good for immunity. So this tea would be good for anxiety and for immunity. And then the Brahmari pranayama, which is the humming bee breath, we're going to practice together. And daily connecting with the earth. So ideally, if you can, connect with your bare feet to the earth, just put your feet on the earth. Or I have a special tree that I like to go and just lean against. You can also sit down next to a tree, sit on the earth. However you can connect to the earth, or lay on the earth even, is great. And just like we started the class today, just sending your grounding roots down into the earth. We'll do that as part of our practice in a moment. Aromatherapy can be another great healing tool. Scents like Palo Santo, lavender, cedar, and frankincense are all helpful for grounding vata. And aromatherapy can very quickly have an effect on the body and the mind. And then finally, warm milk with a pinch of nutmeg before bed. And again, if you're not doing dairy, you could do an almond milk. That would be fine. But the dairy milk especially, brings some qualities of kapha, being heavier. But we want to heat it just to a boil to give it a little lightness, and then put a pinch of nutmeg. The nutmeg acts as a muscle relaxant and will help you sleep soundly through the night. So those are some general recommendations. I've also included in the presentation an almond milk recipe that's anti-anxiety, that has 10 raw almonds, a pinch of ginger, a small pinch of nutmeg, and a few strands of saffron. And it's actually mixed with warm milk, but you could just do water, or if you weren't doing dairy, you could just do it with water. That would be fine. All right, so I've been talking so much. I hope this has been helpful for you, and I want to do a little practice together and just come out of the mind and drop back into our bodies and do a little grounding visualization and Brahmari humming breath and a So Hum meditation, and then I'll open it up for questions. So I'll just invite you to start by closing your eyes and rooting your attention into your sit bones, and just feeling the energy drop down out of the head, I've been talking and you've been processing a lot of information and thinking. So just drop that energy down into your sit bones. And if you're in a chair, down through the soles of your feet, and just send your grounding cord and visualize yourself as a tree, and you're sending your roots down through all of the layers of the earth. And bring your attention to your breath. You're breathing in and out of your nose. Just starting to slow the breathing down. And visualize these roots growing down through all of the layers of the earth. See the core of the earth and see these roots wrapping around the core of the earth. So we're completely connected, stable, nourished, safe. Good. And then lengthening up from the base of the spine to the crown of the head, and just opening to our connection to our higher self and to spirit. And then visualizing a healing white divine light pouring in through our crown chakra, washing down through our physical body and through all of the tissue layers, all of the cells, fully cleansing our physical and energetic body of any dense energy, any blockages, just seeing this healing white light dissolving any blockages, anything that doesn't belong to us, or anything that's no longer serving you, and allowing it to release down through those roots, down into the earth to be recycled by our great mother, Gaia. And you may even feel that this white light is like a waterfall of healing nectar washing down over you and through you. Seeing that it's also cleansing your auric field, your energy field all around your body, and fully washing all of the debris away so that you are just left with your true essence. And then bringing your attention and energy into your heart center, smiling to yourself, and then gently opening your eyes, and we'll begin the Brahmari humming bee breath. So if you've never done it before, you're going to take your index finger above your eyebrows, your middle finger will rest gently over your eyelids, and the other fingers will just allow them to fall wherever they fall comfortably, and then you're going to use your thumb to close off your ears gently. So we're going to create this kind of like a cave, and the humming sensation, when we're going to inhale deeply and then we exhale and we hum, and it sounds like a humming bee, and it helps to activate our parasympathetic nervous system, and is a very calming practice, especially for Vata. So it's going to look like this. I'll do it once and then we'll do it together. So I'm inhaling deeply. Good. So let's do that together 5 times. So bringing your hands into position, and we'll just start by taking it, before you close your ears, take a deep inhale and then exhale fully and completely, and then inhale to begin. And then when you're done, release your hands down and breathe deeply through both nostrils. Exhaling, just keep the eyes closed for a moment and just notice any effects in your mind or your body. Good, and then keeping the eyes closed and just have the hands, palms face down on the thighs. We're going to just begin to bring awareness to the sound of your breath as you inhale through the nose and exhale through the nose. As you inhale, your belly expands. As you exhale, your belly contracts back towards your spine. Good. And then mentally using the mantra so on the inhale and hum on the exhale. So as you breathe in, mentally repeat so, and as you breathe out, hum. So hum, I am that. I am the divine. I am the cosmic consciousness. Good. Whenever the breath wanders, just gently bring it back to the mantra. So hum. Good. And then just releasing the mantra, returning to normal breathing. Again, just noticing the effects of the practice. Feeling the peace and joy that is your true essence. Smiling to yourself, sending this message of peace and joy to every cell in your being. And sending this to the whole planet. Good. And then when you're ready, gently opening your eyes. And I'm going to open up any questions. Let's see here if there's any questions so far, or if you have one, go ahead and feel free to put it in the chat box now. Okay, there is a question here. It says, I'm new on the Ayurveda matter and I arrived a little late, so I was wondering, does Ayurveda allow meat, or is it only vegetarian, maybe kosher meat? Thank you. So that's a wonderful question. Ayurveda is not, it does allow meat. It's encouraged if you don't need meat, by practicing ahimsa, non-harming of ourselves and other beings, all sentient beings. Ideally, if you don't need meat, it's better to have a vegetarian diet. But there are some people and certain medical conditions that may need meat. And from an Ayurvedic perspective, a Vata type of person might need some meat in their diet. And basically, my answer would be that meat is used medicinally, just as all food is used medicinally. We can use food as medicine or as poison. So we have to determine for ourselves what is right for us individually, but also, collectively, right, for the planet, and make our choice from our heart and from that awareness. So I would say that if you're taking meat, yes, of course, if it's kosher meat, if it's from an animal that was humanely treated and respected, that's very different than taking meat from the way most of our meat is produced, which is a very harmful and violent kind of environment and practice. And so the energy from those animals we do get that energy. So when there's fear in the animal, and that's going to be translated into the meat that we might be taking into our body. So remember that everything we're taking in is becoming our physical body, our tissues. And so that is my answer, is that for each of us, we have to answer that individually. And if it's possible to not take a life, and to not, if it's possible to get, the nutrients and the nourishment you need from non-meat sources, that would be best in terms of a practice of ahimsa, of non-harming. So I hope that answers your question. Any other questions? And if there's not, I'm sure we covered a lot of material, so this is just the beginning. I'm going to be teaching a longer 2-day workshop coming up at the end of June, and that will be online. And so if you're wanting to go deeper into Ayurveda, and I would like to invite you to come and join me for this 2-day workshop called Healing with Ayurveda for Uncertain Times. And so I've also included a link in the description of this class, and I'll paste it again here just in case. But it's also on the last page of the presentation if anybody has downloaded that. So let's see, there's another question here. Is it possible that I have some of each dosha? Because I think I am Raja. I'm thinking you're talking about Rajas for my energy, but I am much more peaceful and Pitta for my way of thinking, but I go to bed early. I really cannot with overnights, and my hands are always cold. Okay, so that's a great question. Yes, we are all a unique ratio of the 3 doshas, and so it's very possible that you are a combination, that your Vata and Pitta may be very close. That's the case for me. My Vata and my Pitta are very close, but Vata, remember, because it has that mobile quality, it goes out of balance the easiest. And so a lot of us, especially in our current times with a stressful lifestyle and a busy lifestyle, our Vata tends to go out of balance easiest. We didn't talk about the energy of Rajas, but there are 3 energies, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, and I'll be teaching more about those in my next workshop. But Rajas is this energy of action and stimulation, so we want to cultivate more sattvic energy, which is more peaceful energy, and we can do that through choosing a diet that is ahimsa, through our daily meditation, and just cultivating more peace of mind. So yes, you can be a combination of you're a combination of all 3 doshas in different ratios. And some of us are predominantly 1, some of us are predominantly 2, and rarer is to be equal in all 3. All right, I hope that answered your question, Bagwell. And if there aren't any other questions, I just want to invite you, if you'd like to take a vow of ahimsa. It's your choice, of course, and that can mean something different from all of us. We're all doing our best, and we all have different circumstances in our life. Let's see, there's Okay, one more question here, but they're going to read the presentation. Okay, so on page 25 of the presentation, there's a vow of ahimsa, and this was taught to me by one of my teachers who I have actually mostly learned from through her books. Her name is Mother Maya Tawari, but I had the pleasure and blessing of meeting her and taking a class from her in person. And she offers this opportunity for people to take this vow of ahimsa, and this is about cultivating inner harmony. And it goes like this: I take the vow of ahimsa. Remember, ahimsa means non-harming. I make inner harmony my first priority. I take the vow of ahimsa in my thoughts, words, and actions. So this is really the essence of Ayurveda, is cultivating this awareness in all of our thoughts, words, and actions. And this is one of the greatest things we can do for the planet right now, is to cultivate our own inner harmony, because we are a part of the whole, and the more of us that cultivate this inner harmony, the better off the entire planet is going to be, and the more quickly we will be able to shift the energy of the planet. So if you'd like to, you can just take your hand over your heart and repeat after me, and we'll just do it 3 times. I take the vow of ahimsa. I make inner harmony my first priority. I take the vow of ahimsa in my thoughts, words, and actions. I take the vow of ahimsa. I make inner harmony my first priority. I take the vow of ahimsa in my thoughts, words, and actions. I take the vow of ahimsa. I make inner harmony my first priority. I take the vow of ahimsa in my thoughts, words, and actions. And just taking a deep breath in and exhale, and just a dedication to dedicate our practice and our time together to the benefit of all beings, all sentient beings, and to the healing of our planet. And again, let's close with one more mantra, and then I will paste, I'm going to paste the link in the chat just now for the upcoming workshop, in case anybody would like to go deeper, and in case you didn't see it in the description, so that's posted there. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram at Yogi Veda 108. And let's close with Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. This is, may all beings everywhere be happy and free. And may the thoughts, words, and actions of my own life contribute in some way to that happiness and freedom for all. So this is reaffirming our vow of ahimsa. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, peace, peace, peace. Namaste, and deep bows to all of you, and to anyone who's watching this later. Thank you for being here and joining our energies together for peace and healing for ourselves and for the world. So let me just see if there's any other question here. It doesn't look like it. Thank you all so much. I'm glad you enjoyed the talk, and I am really grateful to be connected with you all in this way, and sending you lots of love and blessings and health and happiness. I'm just going to wait one more moment here to see if anybody has any other comments. We have 1 minute left in our class. And I am broadcasting from Washington State in the United States. It's a rainy day here, gray and overcast, but fresh and beautiful smelling outside. All right. Thank you all so much. I hope you enjoy the rest of the global gathering. It's so important that we're joined together in this way. And just sending this energy out to all that you meet, sharing this love and light with everyone. And again, I'm Danielle Knight, and yogiveda.com. You can learn more about me and what I do and connect with me at yogiveda108 on Facebook and Instagram. All right. Blessings.